Hello, everybody, and welcome to Help I'm an Adult podcast. Yes, it's been a 2-week break since the last episode, but as I always say, life is happening. But today, based on my interactions on Instagram, if you follow on Instagram, which you should, I've decided to do an impromptu episode on going back into the office after the pandemic. Our working lifestyle and everything to do with life in the workplace post-pandemic. So that's what this episode is going to be about. But as always, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Give this video a thumbs up if this is something that you'd like further discussion on. And also let me know, comment below, basically what's your working, environment like post-pandemic? Are you still working from home? Do you have a split? Or are you fully back in the office? I'd like to know, just to see where we're at in terms of the audience that this is catering to. So, like I said, let's get into today's video. So in the UK, at this point in time, we're about 3 weeks into freedom from everything lockdown related. And now it's that companies are either deciding that, okay, they want everybody back in the office, or they're still going to keep people working from home, or it's going to be a split. Now there's 3 weeks in, some people went straight in. Once like Freedom Day, it was like, yeah, we're back in the office, done. And some people are still working from home, e.g. me, till this moment. And there's some people who now have a plan with in accordance to their company plan and whatever the company has put in place to have it as a split situation. So they work from home a particular amount of time in the week and work from the office, the remaining time of the week. And so today I'm going to basically try and cover how to cope in all of these 3 different circumstances, because there are different categories of people that fall into these categories. But I'm going to start with the easiest. First one, people who are still working from home. Example, me. Nothing much has changed, to be fair. Like, everything still stays the same. We still wake up, roll out of bed. Well, in my perspective, roll out of bed. I do what I need to do in the morning before work, and I get to work. Most of it, again, like I said, not much has changed. The only difference is, obviously, with freedom, there's now people that you want to catch up with. It feels like there's not enough weekends, or there's not enough time on the weekend to even catch up with everybody you want to catch up with, including still getting some downtime for yourself. So most of the time, there's either plans like, oh, let's just meet up for lunch, let's do this, and things in between during the weekday. And I'd say, like, with that, the only thing is, I would say, obviously, meet up for lunch, but obviously you have to be aware that your lunch is going to be longer than either the 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever lunch break you get. And things you need to make sure you're doing in that time, because you first of all, you got to let your bosses know, like the person you report to, or the person, I guess, if you're working on projects like I do and stuff like that, you got to let people know that you're away for longer than the allocated lunchtime, and you have to let them know way beforehand. So make sure it can't be as spontaneous, oh, I'm just going to take 3 hours for lunch. That's kind of not okay, in my opinion anyway. So I would suggest, obviously, let your bosses know that you're going to be away longer for lunch, but obviously to kind of keep their mind at rest and to know that they're going to do the work that you've been allocated and the time that it's been allocated to you. You have to also reassure them that you make up the time. So now, how you make up the time, if you're going to leave and go have lunch for like 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, make sure you're making up that time. If your lunch break, for example, is an hour long and you've been away for 3 hours, that 2 hours that you miss, make sure you make up the times via unpaid overtime, basically. I don't know depending on your circumstances. So make sure you either work later that day, make up the hours later on in the week, but make sure your work, your actual, what they're paying you to do is not compromised in any way, shape or form due to social life. And that's pretty much it. So work from home, guys, we're all still the same. We just have more hangouts and things to do. So in terms of our social lives, but I definitely think you just need to communicate your plans way ahead of time and block out those times in your calendar, in your work calendar and stuff like that. Now, to those who are now fully back in the office. But for these guys, I think there are 2 categories of people in this bracket. So there's people who pre-pandemic, they were always like at least they've been in the workforce. They know what working in an office is like, the dynamics and stuff like that. And then there's another group of people who started work during the pandemic. So they started their work life career, I guess, with the work from home stuff. And they've never been to the office. They don't understand office dynamics. And they've probably never even met their colleagues face to face. So different ways of coping with being back in the office. I'll start with the OGs, which is pre-pandemic guys. The pre-pandemic people, so people who've been in the office before pandemic hit, everything will pretty much be like you catching up. So it'll just be like, hey, how you doing? Like seeing the colleagues, understanding where things are. Again, if your office hasn't changed and stuff like that, like you'll find it very easy to just get back into the groove of things, and it'll be like easy interaction with other colleagues. You're gonna find it easy to just physically just get on with it. The only thing that you might find difficult for those who are, again, is probably just getting back into routine. So obviously the working from home, you're like, yes, roll out of bed, roll to work, chill out, have more time to just be, to get to work basically on time at 9 a.m. Let's put it that way. However, with like you now having to go in, you got to plan your time in the morning more. You've got to set routines in terms of when you leave the office, which is good. That's a positive part, that like once you leave off the office, you leave the office, and that's good. And you don't necessarily have to bring work home with you again, which is good. But again, this is stuff that it might take like a few weeks to get into the groove of it. But I know like pre-pandemic folks, you got that down. Now to those who are new to the workforce and started working during the pandemic, which means they started their work life like working from home. And now your companies are asking you to come back into the office full time, or yeah, let's just assume full time at this point. One thing that I know, like obviously I assume you're going to be excited to actually finally see all these people you've been talking to face, talking to via Teams or Zoom or Skype or whatever it is you use at your office, but to actually meet them face to face. And there's excitement, but I'm sure there's also nervousness. And I assure you that being nervous is not a bad thing. Like I'm sure everybody in your shoe. There's people in the office that are in the same category and same shoe as you in that moment. So one thing I can say to help with coping with just interacting with people. I'm sure there's somebody you've probably just always you report to a lot to. Maybe it's your boss that you talk to on a daily basis over Zoom, or you chat, or the team you interact with the most. I would say like that first day back in the office, obviously introduce yourself to everybody perfectly well. And I hope you have a good, and the other thing is you can probably plan to just say, oh, it would be nice to like hang out with, can I have like meetings or hangouts with you guys during lunch, or just find a way to interact with them face to face and get to know them outside of, I guess, working. Because working from home, depending on which company you are, some companies are very much like we just do work, and some people are more social about it. So if hopefully by now you understand the dynamic of your team, and you can then know who to go to, who you want to interact with, who you think you would gel with on a face-to-face basis, and just kind of let's just hang out, let's spend lunch together at work and all of that stuff. That's one thing you could do. For another thing you could also do is, if when you get into the office and you obviously don't know where things are, maybe ask your manager to like assign you a buddy, somebody that can just show you and explain to you how the office works and the office dynamics and all of that stuff. And again, I think that would be a great way to just help you integrate and meld well into the team, into the office life, and figure out how basically things work. Also, be very observant. You can also do all of this, obviously, maybe without the help of somebody, but you can just, if you're someone like me, I guess people watch, but that sounds really like creepy and stalky. But by the time you spend like a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days in the office, I think like a few weeks in, you kind of see how things are flowing. So just make sure you integrate yourself in any way, shape, or form. Also, some companies like mine, we have like extracurricular stuff, so active inclusion. see if you can take part in one of those. You might meet people even outside your team in those sessions, and you can just interact with them. And it's not necessarily all work focused, which is good. So that's my advice to the newbies to the office. And to the oldies who meet a newbie, please make sure you just make yourself known, make them feel comfortable, and if you can, just take people under your wings to help them out so they can actually find their footing in an office environment. I know it took me about like a month or so, even when I started working way back in 20, I say way back, but it feels that long ago, in 2017. It took me a while to kind of get into understand how office dynamics and stuff work, but here we are, all good now. So I think it would be the same for the newbies. So please, like, I advise that pre-pandemic folks and during pandemic folks, if you all can just kind of shadow each other, help the new guys figure out their footing, and yeah, it'll be a smooth sailing into a work life, the workforce lifestyle in the office. I don't even know how to put the sentences together. Dang. Anyway, moving on. The final group of people that I'll be covering now are those who are having the split, which is a flexible working basically. So they work a percentage of time at home and a percentage of time in the office. Now, if you have a split, I assume that your company has given you the option of split. So some offices are 70-30, which is like 30% in the office, 70% at home, or the other way around, depending on which comes first in their mind. Some people might be 50-50 and all of that stuff. So the split is, I in my opinion, I think is the perfect solution. Companies now need, a lot of companies I understand are very much adapting to this flexible working lifestyle, which is great because, again, there's pros and cons to working from home. We all know working from home is just, whew, sometimes it's a good day. Sometimes you're just like, I'm tired of Zoom calls. I'm tired of just talking to people on the screen. And there are days when it's like, you know what? I'm glad I'm not in the office today. But again, it's 50. So you have to just basically adapt to whatever the company has said. I think you have people who in the split have the perfect basically solution because you can adapt to the stuff from the office, like the things I've just said from the guys going into the office. So where you get to meet the new guys, you guys can interact socially while you're in the office or with work, and it's easy to dynamic wise, and but also you can also have that work from home balance where you can still do the stuff you need to do to get yourself together. I guess mentally to just keep that balance going, especially for working parents and stuff. I think flexible working is the way forward. It needs to be the way forward basically from now on. Like companies that not there are some companies I know like connect. There are places that people can work that they can never have like a work from home option, which is fine. And I guess like they just keep that going. But one thing I want to say for all of these, I guess, working conditions is as an individual working in this place is your mental health matters. Make sure you look after yourself all the time. If you're in the office or if you start off like you weren't given the option to have a split or to work from home and it was just like back in the office, but you find that you're really struggling with getting back into the office, I advise that you talk to your managers, maybe talk to the HR team. If you have mental health champions, talk to them and just see if there's a way they can kind of make things work for you. Because again, if anything, this last year, 2 years, I've taught us all like taking care of yourself mentally is so essential to just be okay. If you're not okay mentally, you can't be okay physically. Like it's just not a thing, and it affects the way you work. It affects your interaction with people. So I would say, above all of it, no matter what your working environment is, make sure you keep looking after yourself mentally. I hope this helped. If you need any more insights as to like the benefits of working from home or the benefits of working in an office, I guess I did a poll on Instagram Freedom Week, so it's like 3 weeks ago, but it's saved on my highlights in the interaction highlights. Just go through that and you see like you guys' responses to the benefits of working from home and working from the office. And they were quite interesting and very good. A lot of it covered obviously having a balance, a lot of it covered not wanting to interact over Zoom, and there were things on just looking after yourself and mental health, which is what I've just said as well. So I guess that's it from me today. I hope that was helpful. So let me just do a quick summary. Work from home, guys. Great, like we're doing good. Nothing's changed for us. However, our social lives, our social calendars are getting fuller, so we might tend to put things into our lunchtime. Just make sure your bosses know way ahead of time and make sure you make up the time as soon as possible so you don't miss deadlines. The guys that are working from the office full time, oldies, when I say oldies, I mean those who have experienced the office lifestyle before. Just when you get in, it will take some time to settle in, but make sure you create a routine that works best for you so you can get back into things quickly and as efficiently as possible. And for the new guys, those who have never been in the office environment, I would advise that you just find a way to interact more with the team and socialize more with people in your team. Maybe get involved in non-office related activities, extracurricular activities, and that way you can just integrate yourself easily into the office lifestyle and figure out the office dynamics and stuff like that. And to those who have a split, you got it good. You got it perfect. Just make sure that when you're in the office, you're in the office and you do what you need to do. And when you're working from home, again, still focus on the office stuff and still look after yourself. And everybody all together, make sure you're okay mentally so that you can be able to be more productive in the workplace altogether. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me. And I will be back with you as soon as possible for the next episode of Help I'm an Adult. Bye, everybody.